Hi, folks. Welcome again to Wingman Nation. Thank you for joining me today. Yes, I'm wearing my scary shirt. I just got back from the doctor, and I'm going to, my wife goes, "Why are you going to put on that shirt?" I said, "Because it's kind of scary going to a new doctor. You're putting your life in somebody's hands." And so hopefully you will see not only some things that you may relate to, but also in terms of buying an RV, why buying an RV and finding the right RV dealer might be sort of like finding a new doctor to go to. So, being on Medicare, my wife and I are both over 65, so we have a doctor that we've had forever, but he retired, so we had to find a new one. So she goes online, she finds, read the reviews and all this kind of stuff. So she made a decision yesterday. She went for her appointment, her first visit with the new doctor, and my appointment was just today. So she comes home yesterday. She goes, "Oh man, you're gonna love this guy. He's awesome. He's nice and friendly." I said, "Is he smart?" She goes, "I think so. I assume so. Everybody there in the office is nice, and but he did want me to get this pneumonia vaccine." Really? And she said, "Well, he wasn't too pushy, but kind of a little pushy." I said, "Did you do it?" She goes, "No, I told him we don't believe in that kind of thing. That's just our personal opinion." I said, "Good, good, but you're gonna love this guy." So I just got back from the doctor. I made some notes here, so if you see me looking down, it's because I want to remember this for the future because the jury is out. The bottom line is I think I'm going to do business with this guy. I signed up. They drew blood from me, and but I need to tell you kind of how the whole thing unraveled or unfolded, if you will. So my wife goes with me to the doctor this morning, and it's clean. There's not many people there. The girls are nice in the front. I wait. Doesn't take very long, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Pew, I go back to the back. What's the first thing the doctor does? Not the doctor, but the medical assistant. They weigh you. So they put me on the scale. Okay, go back to the room. And then what's the next thing they typically do? They take your blood pressure, right? Well, nobody came in to check my blood pressure. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. We're waiting for the doctor. My wife goes, "Just yesterday, they checked my blood pressure right away. I wonder if they forgot." And so she goes, I said, "Why don't you go check?" So she goes out to check, and as she checks, the doctor's coming in. And then the girl wheels the cart in, to check the blood pressure. And she checks it, and I'm thinking, that's kind of odd. She just, maybe they had more people, busy, she forgot, I don't know what, just to kind of let it go. And so she takes the blood pressure, leaves, doctor's there. Doctor, I hand him my records. I picked up my old paper records from the previous doctor, handed them to him. He looks at it. He looks at the thing, and he started in about this pneumonia vaccine, and I'd really like you to take it. Medicare is suggesting, and I need to, tell you about it, and really think you ought to get it. And once again, I said, if it's not a requirement, I'm not going to do it. But thank you so much. I told him that I will probably be one of your best patients or your worst patients. Depends upon how you view me. I said, let me just say this. I know I'm overweight, I know I have high cholesterol, and I know that I have high blood pressure. I've had a couple of surgeries, a hernia and a gallbladder and that kind of, but nothing. I don't go to the hospital, and you will never hear from me, doctor. I don't chase my problem. Oh, I need a pill for this and a pill for that. I don't do that. And so when you see me, I'm going to really need to see you. So I just want you to know that. You won't see me very often, but if you do, I'm going to need you. He says, "Well, we'll be here." And I said, "I understand from yesterday." My wife's sitting right there. I said, "I understand that you believe in the vaccine for the COVID-19. He says, "Absolutely." I said, well, I don't, but that's okay. We can agree to disagree. And I said, "Can I ask you a question?" "Well, of course." I said, "In the 4+ years since it started, the panic started and people started dying, and a lot of people died, a lot. How has your opinion changed, or your thoughts or your feelings about the vaccine and the whole situation changed in that time? Because now people are still getting COVID, but it's a different variation of it. They don't seem to be dying, or we'd be hearing about it. But how have your thoughts and things about how it's treated changed?" And he said, "Not one bit." I said, "What do you mean not even a little bit?" He goes, "Not a bit." I said, "But what about these athletes that are just die, and these, young people? There's so many deaths and things." He said, "There's no correlation, no connection at all. If there was, it would be in the medical journals and we would all know about it." I said, "But we hear about these things." He says, "That's nothing to do with it." I said, "Well, can I tell you my story?" And he says, I can't say the word because YouTube may, throw this video off. He says, Ivor, and yes, that drug, that drug saved my life. He's like, really? I said, now maybe statistically it doesn't work. I don't know, but it worked for me. It did work for me. And I said, when all hell broke loose, he says, I got a bunch of it at the house. I said, why? He says, well, if all hell breaks loose, I had it. I'm thinking, okay, but he says, there's no evidence, no medical research, no nothing. And, you can have your opinion, Mr. Warren, and I will have mine. I said, well, and that's okay. That's okay. But he really wanted me to take this pneumonia vaccine. And we're just sitting there. He hasn't touched me at all yet. Not even through the shirt or asked me to cough or breathe or any of that kind of stuff. And so we're visiting, and he said, you hear Pedro back there? That must mean there's a squirrel or a possum or something in the yard. But when he said that my opinion hasn't changed, I looked over at my wife. I said, honey, that is an example of bias. And she's like, oh, there he goes again. And I wasn't trying to be ugly, I promise. I said, he has a confirmation bias that every single thing is looked at through the prism that he sees, that vaccine is good, all the boosters are good, everything is good, and he is not open to any other, if there's any, it's got to be evidence. And I believe that there's a lot of, he may not call it evidence, but there's a lot of things out there that suggest that maybe we ought to rethink this whole COVID thing, the whole pandemic and the way we approached it. I said, but he's got his bias, and so do I. So I have this bias, not that the Ivor, is good for everybody, but it was good for me. And I said, that's how we differ. And as long as you understand, Doc, I said, I'll be your best patient or your worst patient, but I'll be your honest patient, I promise you. And so we talked a little bit more, and he kept coming back to this damn pneumonia vaccine. And I said, well, go back to the Ivor. And I said, if I asked you for a prescription for the Ivor, would you give it to me? Or could you give it to me? He said, well, I could, but I wouldn't. And he said, it's because there's no proof. You could, but you wouldn't. But you want me to take this other vaccine? He said, yes. I said, I'm not going to do it. And he said, you're going to need to come back in a couple of weeks for your, I think he called it a wellness check. You got to do an annual wellness check or something. I said, well, what about my physical? He says, well, that's what we're doing right now. And so far, I haven't sat up on the table or nothing. I'm just sitting there next to him talking. I think, okay. So when he does get me up on the table, he listens to my heart and, my lungs and okay. And he looked at my ears. And my wife goes, she said, you didn't look in my ears yesterday. She wasn't mean. And he just kind of looked and just kind of blew it off, didn't say anything. But he didn't touch me. He didn't touch my throat to see if there's any lumps or weird feeling stuff. He didn't lay me down on the table like my other my family practice doctor had been with for years. He'd poke around, and does that hurt? Move your legs up. And so he didn't do any of that. He did not touch my skin with his skin, not one time, until he left the room. And when he left the room, he shook my hand, and that was the only time. One of the things that struck me at his office, and it's clean, it's nice, it wasn't crowded, the ladies were nice that worked there, but there were stickers, these stickers, 4x6 stickers, that were asking for a review that seemed to be everywhere. Review, review, review. And my wife had told me that. She goes, they really hung up on them reviews. And she said, but they got a 4 point, whatever it happens to be. I said, I don't care what the review says, honey. They're begging for these reviews. They're reeking of. And closed the door in that little room we're sitting in, and there's a sticker right there at the door handle. Make sure you give us a review. It's always a review. I'm thinking, well, that's a little bit over the top. That was just me. So I'm wondering all these different things. Why is he pushing me on this pneumonia vaccine? He's pushing me on trying to talk me into, you really need to be vaccinated because, if you do get the COVID, you won't die. I said, well, I've had the COVID 3 times. I didn't die yet, and I'm pretty healthy, and I'm not going to do it. He says, yeah, but I think you need to. And I said, honey, once again, this is about bias. It's all about the money. And he was stunned. I said, I'm not trying to be ugly. And I looked at him. I just looked right at him. I said, I know that I'm important to you, sort of. My wife is just cringing. I said, I'm just another patient. I'm just so much money. I said, honey, he has to check that box on Medicare. I will promise you. If he doesn't, he gets penalized. He gets a black mark. And the doctor goes, well, yeah, we do get graded by how many boxes we check off. I said, it's not about my personal medical treatment. It's about him having to check off boxes. And I understand the system, but I also understand that I'm going to be responsible for my health. If I don't take care of me, he can prescribe something. If I don't take care of myself, whatever he prescribes isn't going to help me. Isn't this like shopping for an RV dealer? Don't you want somebody that you can trust? Don't you want somebody that has the same values as you? Know, I can drop my doctor, and I might drop my doctor. I may stay with him. Again, my wife makes all those big decisions for me, and she knows all the specialists, and if there is something wrong, if I have a heart arrhythmia or whatever you get, she can get me in to see a specialist, and I won't need this guy. But the jury is out. I decided, you know what, he is a nice guy. He knows where I'm coming from. It was not argumentative at all. But then they go to take my blood. But, he leaves. Girl finally comes in, takes my blood, pulls out the deal, puts the Band-Aid around, wraps me up. And she looks at the paper. She goes, oh, I forgot. What? I didn't take enough. Another red flag. So she pokes around to try to find I'm not a veiny guy, but she finally finds it. And that's, I can see a bruise already coming up. And I think that's kind of weird. So they called in my prescriptions, and in a couple of hours, I'm going to go get my prescriptions. I gave them my pharmacy. I gave them the phone number, gave them the address where the pharmacy is. And so when they call, I'm going to go get my prescriptions because I said, I'm out. I ain't got no more blood pressure pills. I'm going to need some tomorrow. And if I don't get them, my blood pressure is going to go through the roof. He said, we'll take care of it. So that was my visit at the doctor. So what? Well, here's the so what. I'm going to give it a week or two and follow up on this video and let you know if everybody did what they were supposed to do. If they did, I'm going to stay with them. But if not, the good thing about a doctor is you can switch doctors. Once you sign on the dotted line on buying an RV, you ain't going to switch dealers. It ain't going to happen. You are committed to your loan. You are committed to that doctor, to that RV dealer. You are committed, and you get the service that you are given. I was given nice service today. I was. Friendly people. I didn't have to wait all that long, but they did forget a couple of things that I thought were kind of important, like checking my blood pressure. Like looking how many vials or tubes, whatever they call it, of blood they're going to get out of me. They didn't do that, but they did try to encourage me and push me into getting a shot because it was of their benefit, saying, oh, it's really for your benefit too. If I get pneumonia, I get pneumonia, and I will be responsible for whatever happens then. So I'm not trying to be argumentative. I believe that being an honest wingman is just being honest. It's not hard to be honest. Sometimes it's not popular. I'm not saying that I encourage you to be argumentative at all, but I do encourage you to be open-minded. Hold firm to your beliefs, but be open-minded. I have biases. You have biases. RV dealers have biases. They have things that they will try to get you to buy, and some of them you will want to buy. You will. And some of them you may feel like they're pressuring you to buy. And I don't want you to feel that way. That's the reason why I do business with the dealers that I do business with. So I know this was kind of a long video. I hope that you see some parallels with other things in your life where people you want them to listen to you, but you know that they are really trying to just get you out of there, get the next patient, get the next gal that's going to buy an RV in there. I'm looking for people that want a patient-doctor relationship like the one I used to have. My doctor hung up his shingle back in the 60s? He was a doctor for 60 years. He's 88 years old. And he's so damn smart and so good. And he listened and he cared. He'd open up my file and I left the file of the doctor. But I look at his old man writing, and he'd make notes every time I go in a big, thick file of notes just of what I do and what I said. And I don't know, there was something about that. It was that personal touch. I think that is lacking today with the RV dealers. Yeah, I go back to the RV dealers. You buy one from my dealer, somebody else, you're going to do whatever you're going to do. You're going to get what you're going to get. But I want an RV dealer that gives a crap about me, not just the day that I walk in there, but in the future when I got a problem. And I will have a problem. You will have a problem if you buy an RV. You will. You want somebody that's going to treat you just as important as they treated you the day that you signed your paperwork. At least that's the way I see it. So the jury is out. I got a new doctor. Hopefully everything's going to work out well. I would like to hear from you. What did you think of today's video? Remember, this is Wingman Nation. This is where I encourage you to be a better wingman or better wingwoman. Let's look out for everybody else. Let's listen to other people, even if they have a different point of view than ours. Listen. Try to find some common ground. And whatever decision you make, if you get the pneumonia shot, great, good for you. But be responsible for doing it. If you choose like I did, I ain't taking it. I have to be responsible for my decision. And if you buy an RV from somebody, be responsible for it. Don't start blaming, oh, they should have done, could have, would have. Don't do that. I know it sounds easy, but it does hard. Thank you so much for being here. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button. Turn your notifications on. I'm Alan Warren, the RV Wingman, reminding you to be safe, have fun, play nice, and don't leave your good manners at home. Thanks for joining me. Bye-bye.